I'm going to show you how to set up Lear on board to run commands based on bit ranges or specific bit amounts. The main focus of this video is the logic on how to detect the different bit amounts. The first part of this video is going to show you how to set it up to detect bit amounts above or below a certain amount with some specific amounts as well. The second part of this video is going to show you different bit ranges while also detecting specific amounts within those ranges. Create a button and call it bits under or over 50. Add a trigger for the Twitch bits, and I'm putting it at 500,000 just to detect any amount of bits. Edit the settings of the button to allow queue so that each bit tier is played in order and not on top of each other. Edit commands. Add trigger pool and pull the value of Twitch bits amount and place the value into a variable. I'm going to call it cheer amount. Add an if statement to check if the cheer amount is greater than or equal to 50. I'm going to add a switch statement in order to detect specific amounts. The switch statement is going to look at the cheer amount value. Now I'm adding a case statement to check some specific amounts that are above 50, such as 69 and 420. Then if it is not any of those specific amounts, we want to have a default for everything else that is greater than or equal to 50. If the cheer amount is not greater than or equal to 50, then it'll go to the else, and this will be the range of 49 or below. We can copy this switch statement with the scissor icon and then paste it into the else and make some specific amounts to detect that are below 50 and also the default of everything else below 50. So this is the logic on detecting cheer amounts greater than or equal to 50 and doing something different if there's some specific amounts. Or if it's not greater than or equal to 50, we will do some specific amounts within 49 or below. Now I will show you where to put the commands. If you want a command or any other action to take place every time there is a bit cheer, then you would place it in this spot just below the trigger data. If you want something to always run every time there is a cheer greater than or equal to 50, you would place it in this location just below the if statement. To run a command for each specific amount, then add it inside each case. Then also do something by default if it does not match any of the specific numbers. So how I have it set up now is something will always happen if the bit value is greater than or equals to 50, and additionally, some other things will happen based on the case. You may want to remove that command that always runs and only have one thing run based off of specific amounts or default. If you want to run a command, if it is not greater than or equal to 50, then you would add your command right inside the else statement, and this will always run if it's 49 or below. And just like the previous switch statement, add your commands for each amount below 49. Otherwise, by default, if it does not match a specific amount, it will do something. Now we can expand upon this logic and create some bit ranges. For example, you may want to do something different if the bit amount is 500 or more. 500 or more would be valid in this current logic, but we want to do something different and also do some things on specific amounts above 500. So I'm going to delete everything out of the else statement because we won't be using it. And I'm going to delete these comments so the logic is easier to read. Our first range is going to be 1 through 49. So on the if statement, we'll hit the plus sign, add the and, check the value of cheer amount is greater than or equal to 1 and less than or equal to 49. Then within that range, we have our specific amounts and the default if it does not match any of these specific amounts. Also note that if you are doing this logic for dollar amounts, you'll want to put $49.99 because that is 1 penny away from 50, which would be the start of the next range. But in this tutorial, I am doing bits. So I'll put it back to 49 bits. And for each range, we will create an if statement. So the next range is greater than or equal to 50, less than or equal to 499. I'll put some specific amounts to detect and also the default if a specific amount is not detected. And further on, the next range would be greater than or equal to 500, less than or equal to 999, for example, some specific amounts, and the default if it does not meet the specific amounts. Then at some point, you're going to want to just detect everything above the last bit range. So greater than or equal to 1000, some specific amounts, and the default. So this is the logic for doing something different between different bit ranges, but also something different if there's a specific amount within those ranges. Here's how you can test that the logic is working. I have put pop-up messages under each case statement, and with the Leon board transmitter, I can test different bit amounts. For example, any amount between 1 and 49 will generate the pop-up showing the default 1 through 49. If I were to do a specific amount, then it's going to pop up the 42.